So this video is all about how to use a vintage Roland bass guitar controller like this G-33 with the Boss SY-1000. And most importantly, I guess the hardest part of this is you need to come up with a 24 to 13 pin converter. I'm using a BX13, which is something that I used to make and sell a bunch of years ago. I don't do it anymore, but you can probably find these on eBay or track down a Roland BC13, or you can go to my website and look for schematics on how to build one of these. The really critical part of this only requires like 12 resistors, 2 resistors per string, and that'll adjust the level. Then you can make it more complicated if you want to do the take advantage of the mode switch and map that to be switches for the SY-1000. Then you need a couple digital transistors and a couple capacitors. If you want to do enable the volume control, that's a trim pot. And then if you want to add in the voltage controlled amplifier, which is kind of the modification I made, that takes a little bit more work. Now here's a unit with the top off of it, and this is kind of a customized unit that I kind of dink around with, and you can get an idea of what's in there. But once you've got something to convert the 24 to 13 pin signals, and again, I've got schematics on my website. It's not a hard thing to build. Then you just basically need to get the settings on the SY-1000 to what you need them to be. So right now, the SY-1000, it's in guitar mode. So I'm going to go to System, and I'm going to go with my page, I'm going to go all the way over to the end, and that's where you see it says mode settings, and that's where we're going to change this to bass mode. So if you switch, there's only two modes. There's either guitar or bass. It's one or the other. If we hit this, and then it says, oh, you want to go to bass mode? And I'm going to say OK to confirm, and then it wants me to restart. So basically then we just need to power the unit off, and then we're going to power it back on again. And when it comes up, it's going to be in bass mode. And then I'm going to put the camera up on a tripod to hold the thing a little bit more steady. And we can go through the settings that you need to get the unit set up. So there you go. Now we're in bass mode. Okay, so now get ready. We're going to step through the actual settings you need on the SY-1000 to use it with a vintage bass guitar synth controller like the G-33 here, or the G-88, or the Roland G-77. So I'm going to go to System, and I want to go to In-Out Setting, and we're going to go to GK Setting. I already have a patch stored or a setting set up for the G33. For the GK type, let's click here. We want GK2B. So you can see we've got a lot of different choices here, but the one we want to go with is GK2B, not GK3B, but GK2B. That most closely matches what we're getting out of the BX13. For the scale, we've got a long scale selected like a jazz bass or a precision bass. And then for the pickup position, and this is like probably the most critical setting, it needs to be 4-string-3. And I tried experimenting with different settings. So this is the only one that aligns the 4 input signals we get from the G33 to match up with what the 4 strings should be when we're using the SY-1000. Over here under pickup phase is normal, and that refers to the phase of the regular guitar pickup on the bass. The pickup direction is also normal, and then the switch position is also normal. And then the normal pickup gain, now you can add in more or less gain if you need it. Right here, if you're using some of the modeling sounds that do not use the 13-pin pickup, you may need to add a little extra gain here. And then we're going to go over here to the distance. So the distance here, and we're looking at strings 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can see I've got 52.5 millimeters, 50.5, 48.5, and 46. So this is going to be the position from what I measure is sort of the middle of that divided hex pickup to right where the string crosses over the saddle. And you want to put those numbers in to get accurate modeling. So this is for the bass I'm using and the way I have the intonation set up. Those are the values that I have. Your bass may be set up a little bit differently. And then the next one we have over here is the GK input settings, and you can see the sensitivities. Now you'll notice that my sensitivity settings are the same for each string. They're all 20. And the reason that they are all 20 and they don't go up and down like they probably typically would on a GK3 bass is because on these vintage bass guitars, or vintage guitar synth controllers made by Roland, there are trim pots inside of the instrument itself, and that's where you set the level. So you set the level inside of the instrument to be at the appropriate setting for all the strings, which is kind of nice, which means that any synth I plug this into, I don't have to go messing around trying to adjust those levels because they're all going to be exactly the same. And of course the Roland vintage synths like the GR33B or GR77B, they didn't have input sensitivity controls. Everything was done inside of the instrument. So that's the most important part to get that set up. Let me just grab the bass a second and just play a little bit. So this is the, going to start off with the E string, and then the A string, then the D string, and then finally the G string. And so those are the settings if you want to use a G-33, G-88, or G-77. Those are about the settings that you're going to be looking at. Again, the sensitivity settings and the actual measurement of the position of the hex pickup may vary a little bit for you, but I hope this gets you started because it's really great. I think these vintage instruments are some of the best instruments ever made. Roland really went all out to make some really fine instruments, and it's such a pleasure to be able to use them with the SY-1000 and take advantage of this whole new universe of guitar sound and processing that's possible with the SY-1000. And it's also great that, like the GR55, that Roland has decided to include both the guitar and the bass modes in one instrument, as opposed to, say, with the VG99, you actually had to buy a separate synth, the VB99. Okay, I hope you found this helpful, and thanks for watching.